Here we are for yet another session on poems, prayers, and promises. On behalf of Lighthouse, I welcome each one of you who would be watching right now or who would be catching this broadcast later on. This is yet another session where we will talk about what we are going through and more with focus on the emotional landscape of navigating these difficult times, these desperate times, and trying to heal in as individuals, as communities, to stand up, to hold space for each other, and to be able to wish each other a collective human well-being. I think what is going on at the moment, as many of us know, in India, but also in different phases across the globe, is not just unprecedented, but is perhaps a huge step of evolution in our in our in the way we grow. Perhaps not anatomically, but emotionally, it is perhaps one step of evolution. And while we try to cope with our daily urgencies of one new case here and rushing for oxygen and concentrators and the correct drug, and all of these things are happening to us, at the same time, another thing is happening very implicitly but very prominently. The modern medicine, the hospital beds, the ICU beds, the required life support system. Apart from that, the doctors are also navigating and promoting an awareness of holistic healing, holistic health. At first preventive, so that we stay calm and we don't catch it by some sense of panic and anxiety that it might happen to us, and that kind of diffuses our strength and our courage and our immunity. And then when it happens to us, how do we even deal through those 14 days and beyond those times? And how do we deal with the news, the updates, the urgencies of our near and dear ones for others? How do we stand up for others? I think a strange time has come in where modern medicine is finally making friends with the holistic alternate healing, where we are talking about the breath, we are talking about calmness, we are talking about staying in our body. And talking of body, it at times feels a little overwhelming to imagine that as much our bodies are under threat, it can just perhaps grab us and take us in hostage. Our bodies are immensely powerful. It is our bodies that can protect us if we use it the right way, if we develop the immunity. It is the antibodies inside us, it is the antibodies we can lend once we have recovered through plasma. And I feel that this is not to at all be be insensitive to the needs, but it is also to develop a sense of consciousness around our body wisdom and how powerful and how efficient and how effective it is to take care of our bodies beyond our everyday hustle for job and success and the next promotion. And I feel that we have learned it in a hard way, how to come back home to our own bodies. So today our session is really going to be about that: the body wisdom, the prana, the breath, and how we can keep our calm, how we can keep our composure, how we can keep our collective consciousness in place that helps us. It is easy to feel desperate, to give up, but that is not going to work. It is not medicines that will heal us as much as our own mental management would at this point in time. I couldn't think of anybody better to talk about this than the guest of today, Swarnali Roy, our very dear, very, very darling family friend, Mani Bodhi, as we know her. She is somebody who navigates both the scientific side of his as an educator and as from her personal academic as well as professional background. And at the same time, she also is a healer. She is an educator and a teacher in Art of Living, and she teaches and she talks, and she is a walking, talking version of, I think, a balance of mind, body, soul, emotion, holistic well-being. Before I hand over the stage to her and ask her to explain more about how we can navigate these times better, as we have done customarily, I would read out a few lines of a poem that I came across, which I think speaks about exactly the same theme we are looking at today. So I read out from the very lovely poet, the very lovely lines of Maria Sabina, who is a Mexican poet, as she wrote, "Cure yourself with the light of the sun and the rays of the moon, with the sound of the river and the waterfall, with the swaying of the sea and the fluttering of birds. Heal yourself with the mint and the mint leaves, with neem and eucalyptus. Sweeten yourself with lavender, rosemary and chamomile. Hug yourself with the cocoa bean and a touch of cinnamon. Put life and love in tea instead of sugar. And take it looking at the stars. Heal yourself with the kisses that the wind gives you and the hugs of the rain. Get strong with bare feet on the ground and with everything that is born from it. Get smarter every day by listening to your intuition, looking at the world with the eye of your forehead. Jump, dance, sing so that you live happier. Heal yourself with beautiful love. And always remember, you are the medicine." I invite you, Manibodhi, to tell us a little more about this and to tell us really how we ourselves, you, each one of you who's listening to this, you are the medicine. Over to you, Manibodhi.
Thank you, Sinchini. Lovely. Thank you for having me here. It's really nice. I really like the poem so much. The just one poem has told everything that I am going to thinking of telling today. It is so very apt. I really like this is true. Our body can heal ourselves. And with the nature, where you get the wind kisses, where you get the earth, where you walk on the earth, all these things matters a lot, and it really heals the body. This is true. Just if I explain you a little bit, like the poem says, as Sinjini told, that we are empowered to heal ourselves. We have everything in us that really helps us to fight, to repair, to maintain, and to heal ourselves. The nature. In fact, we are made of Panchbhuta. Our body is made up of air, water, fire, space, and earth. The body has come from this, and now in between our life, maybe sometimes too much of intellect and all, what wrong we have done with us is that we have drifted ourselves away from the nature. And more drifting has happened because of a different lifestyle. We have lost contact with the nature. And I think hardly any one of us gets time to spend with the nature, like putting your hand with the earth or playing with the mud, we hardly get time to go out and do that. But if I tell you that if we touch the earth with our hand for some time, other than gardening and all, if we do that, the healing starts. This I can tell you. And this is really, really. And you know, as she was telling, the wind kisses. If you stand in the wind for some time and feel the breeze flowing over you, it takes out the negativity from you. The rain, if it falls on you, then it takes all the toxins which is accumulated around you. So a lot of things the nature does. Only thing is that we need to believe it. We need to have a lifestyle coming closer to the nature, as our body is a gift from the nature. If we are closer to the nature will take care of us, it will heal us. Now, Ginny, do you want me to start with the immunity part and
Yes, so I really wanted to, thank you for sharing that bit. That was very important. How do you think we should work through these times? I can think of many possible places where each one of us are placed at the moment. Some of us who have been truly lucky and very grateful are just trying to protect ourselves, and we haven't had it, and we wish we don't have it. How do we stay there? How do we, at least, I mean, we cannot guarantee, but how do we try to work on us, on our lung capacity, on our belief system, to try to develop a sense of not just avoiding it, but also to understand that it's okay. I mean, the statistics, of course, the news is flashing the negative news because we have to panic and we have to take it seriously. But there are also so many people who are recovering. So one is the people who are, in the preventive space. And second are the people who are perhaps caregiving, and it's exhausting, and they cannot even see the people who are suffering, who are the near and dear ones. They are perhaps putting a plate of food outside their room, outside the door, or they are rushing for, trying to get the supply of oxygen or to get a bed, and the entire anxiety and trying to deal with this. And how do people then bring themselves back to taking one deep breath or to maintain that calm? And then there are people who are themselves afflicted, and they might be recovering, or they're through it and they're perhaps exhausted. And of course, I emotionally bent down, as I mentioned, the last group of people who are having and going through the process of grief. They have lost somebody, they have lost somebody close, and we know this time it's not sparing. It's not just the people who have lived their life long enough to say a happy goodbye. So all of these people need some kind of coming back to their body to find solace. If you can talk about any and every of these techniques, what people can do to help themselves.
Very correct. Yes, very true. This is the situation that we are facing every day, in and out. If you see the scenario, you will see that almost 2% of our population is affected by the virus. Almost 2%. Yes, there are people suffering, there are people who are in isolation, and there are a group which want to prevent or protect themselves. So for now, what we are doing is that we are talking, or we are just trying to help with an holistic approach to the situation. Like, as I told you, 2% of people of the population is affected by the virus, and they need to do something with their lung capacity, with some breath, and with meditation that I will be telling you. But I want to mention here one more very important thing, that which you were also mentioning, that is 2% is affected, but 40% of the population is actually with living with fear and anxiety. And that is the very worrying part. 40% of people are mentally disturbed. Maybe they have lost someone very close, or they have the fear, anxiety. All these things in a human being is making it the virus to spread more and more. How you want to know? The more stress come to a person, the more anxiety he is in, immediately the immunity goes low. Even if you're taking proper care throughout the year, eating proper things, drinking kada, drinking all other things, whatever advice you are going through, staying safe, taking care of all the protection, even if you're taking care for the whole year, now, the moment you are in fear or stress, the immunity goes down. And that is a scope for the virus to enter. In fact, we are making a bed and inviting them to come in because we are in stress. And when we are in stress, there are stress hormone secreted. There is an amygdala which secretes the stress hormones, which is there in our brain, which secretes the stress hormone. And this stress hormone secretes, does disbalance in the body, making the immunity low, and all different types of problems coming in, starting of increasing of heart rate, then all other ailments just jump in, high pressure, sugar high, all these things create a bed for the virus to come in and spread. So we need to take care of this 40% who are in stress, number one. And the other is that those who are suffering, those who are in ice. So I will be taking like 2-3 categories: a prevention group, a isolation group, and those who are in isolation in quarantine, those who are suffering from low to moderate the problem, and some who are already in hospital and suffering the disease. And like there is a group who have just recovered. And they need to do a lot of things. Now, before just telling you what to do, I would like to have a little knowledge or awareness, or revive our awareness about the body. Is that okay? Just to tell you about the body. Now, why I'm telling? Because if we are aware of our body, then we can know better, do things correctly, and help the body in the process. Like our body is very, very powerful, and it has been equipped with the most sophisticated organs, equipments in our body. But hardly we are aware of it and we take care of it, or we train it. The same body, if someone trains it, can do wonders. Like for example, yogis, they just training the mind, training the brain, they can do wonders. They can even meditate in snow without proper clothes. They can do wonders. They can walk on a rope. They can do whatever. So it is only training the body. We have the same body. So we have, now we have such valuable things inside us. We are not aware of it. For example, lungs. Lungs is the organ. Nowadays, it is very much in talk with everywhere. Now, the lungs that we get, we only use 30% of it. 70% of the lungs is not used. Can you believe this? It comes and goes back as such. Only 30%. We have the capacity. If we train it, if we do certain things, we can increase the chest cavity, we can increase the lung power. And the moment we increase the lung power, it is easier to deal with, even if God forbid it's not happen, even if the lungs is damaged, then also if you increase the lung capacity, that can be taken care and healed and sustained for the whole life. Just by, we are equipped. Only thing is that we need to train that. But we have never given this value. We have so much of things in us. It is like, I remember a small story here. Like there was a beggar who was sitting on a heap and begging all through his life. And finally, while begging only, he died. Now people thought, let us remove this beggar and clean that area. He was sitting in this same heap throughout his life. So they started cleaning it. And when they started cleaning it, they found big storage of wealth. He was sitting on wealth all through his life, but begging for wealth in his life. Exactly same things we are doing to ourselves. We have everything with us, but we are begging for oxygen now. In fact, if we take a little bit of attention and intention to improve ourselves, we can have all this strength with us. So, body. So we will talk a little bit about the lungs, which is the main topic of coronavirus, because it is mainly affecting the lungs, and how to take care of the lungs, and an overall holistic approach that we will discuss, right? And so I will tell you that immunity building, if we come to this point, immunity building mainly stands on three things, that is yoga, pranayama, and meditation. Of course, there is food that can enhance this. And of course, on top of that, we have certain Ayurvedic things which actually helps us. So to increase the immunity or to be more, it is not the question of just we are scared or we are in anxiety for this particular coronavirus. It is like that if we make ourselves stronger, powerful, we know how many virus is going to come in future. It is being discussed now, told now, there can be many other viruses in future. So we have got a time, a jerk given to us. Let us be prepared and well maintaining our body to face the world ahead. So is that a good idea to talk about the immunity now, how we can build that? Very good. So the immunity that we are talking about, we actually are talking about immunity to take care of our body, physical body, and how we can increase. There are certain, again, I would like to add some parts of our body which actually helps in building the immunity. So I will be telling us small things which actually, now we always told that yoga is very important. You can take it as exercise or walk or yoga. Yoga is not only gives this, it has many folds advantages. That is why we insist yoga here. Now, yoga, walking, exercise, there is a need of movement in the body. Why movement? I will tell you a small things which is less known but very important. I don't know how many of you have heard or known, must be knowing it, read it in your book. That is, there is a system in our body called lymphatic system. We have digestive system, circulatory system, nervous system, so many systems in our body. With this, which is less read and taught, is the lymphatic system. Lymphatic system is there to help the circulatory system. Now, it runs parallel. It's a sister helping hand for the circulatory system. Now, we all know that the circulatory system has a pump, which is our heart, and there is the artery and veins, which carries blood and which takes up the blood and again makes it fall in the heart, and then it goes to the lungs for purification. This is the circulation happening in our body all around the clock. But when the circulation is happening, when the artery is taking the blood to each and every cell in our body, and it gives the oxygen and the food to the cells. And from the cells, the vein collects the carbon dioxide and the toxins and the waste products and carries back to the heart, to the lungs to get it purified. Now, in between, when there is an exchange happening on a cell, if you take my hand as one single cell, there is the artery giving the blood and there is the vein which is collecting back. While the exchange is happening, there are some waste products remaining on the cells, on the tissues. Waste product means it could be some toxins, some viruses, some bacteria which are left on the cells, on the tissues. Now, if they are left there for long, they can cause the tissue damage or the cell damage, which is the trigger for a disease. Here comes in the lymphatic system, where it is there covering the cell. And these are also fine vessels like veins and arteries, which collect back all the bacteria and virus and toxins and takes away from the tissue and goes and put it into the vein, which again carries on in the circulatory system. Now, the lymphatic system does such an important work, but only problem with the lymphatic system is it doesn't have a pump which can pump and move. So for this reason, movement is important. Unless we move our hand, unless we move our body, unless we do yoga, walk, exercise, this lymphatic fluid remains in the body. They get accumulated in the body. They do not get the drainage. As a result, we start suffering. The immunity goes down and we start suffering. So this is one of the main points why yoga is required to do, so that we can drain out. Even walk and exercise do help. We can drain out the toxins. I hope that makes it clear. Right. Now, what we come, the second thing is that, yes, Sinjini, you want to say something?
No, that's perfect. And yes, that is a very important thing that you mentioned. I mean, we are, of course, not so aware of it. And given the lockdown, we are also not being able to go out and take a walk outside. And, thank you for, emphasizing that even if we stand at one place in the morning or maybe, shake our fingers or arms and legs, it's some kind of movement. And that is perhaps where we can begin in a very small way. Thank you.
Very correct. Very correct. And now if we come to the lungs part, we are now focusing of increasing the lung capacity. Okay, there are different asanas that we do, which actually specifically increases the lung capacity. And before entering this asanas or telling you about this, I would also like to tell you how things work. With the scientific view, I would like to tell it that the lungs, the lungs is the organ which takes out 90% of the toxins from the body. 90% toxins, if we breathe well, if we do a little bit of long, deep breaths, it will take out the toxins from our body. If we allow that toxins getting deposited in the lungs and remaining there, so we are actually crowding the lungs and not allowing it to freely have oxygen from outside. As such, there is a pollution outside, and that also creates a lot of stress that also hampers our body. Now, we know a little bit about breath, because that is the second dimension of our existence. which we are not aware of, which we do not give even value, because breath is free. Now, if I ask you how valuable the breath is, okay, let me ask you one thing. When a child is born, what is the first act that a child does? It
A cry. Yeah,
It cries.
it cries. Before crying, what is the act? Can you just guess?
take the first inhalation.
It takes a breath. Yes.
Very correct. It takes a breath in. And when we will be leaving the body, what will be the last act that we will be doing?
Exhale.
Breathing out.
Out.
So one breath in and one breath out, in between is the life. Okay. And we hardly give value to the breath. Only when we are angry, when we are running fast, we come to know, oh, we are breathing. Otherwise, we take it for granted. We are never bothered. And one more thing here is that we are never taught anywhere how to breathe. There is no school which teaches us how to breathe. So we breathe whatever way we can breathe, not knowing the importance of the breath. Breath does wonders. You will see that our emotion is also connected to the brain, to the breath. The breath, the emotions, the mind, they are connected. Now we were talking of being sad. You will see our breath changes when we are very sad. If something has happened somewhere, you will see that people are taking long breaths. Dirgha saas lete hain. So long breath they take. Now, if we are angry, think of the breath that we take. It is fast breath. So the emotion, and so when we are happy, we are not aware that we are breathing. So when we are sad, the breath becomes long. When we are angry, the breath becomes fast. When we are happy, it is just normal. So we see a strong connection between the emotion and the breath. To take care of the emotion, just now we were telling that how stress, anxiety, worry is affecting us. To take care of this, we need to know how to breathe properly. For the breath to take properly, we will learn a little bit of simple but very effective pranayam. This pranayam is directing the prana, that is the life force energy, which we breathe in with the air, and directing it to different parts of our body in different pranayams, thereby taking out the toxins with the breath out and energizing that part with high prana. High prana is again very important, as we were talking about the holistic healing. There comes in the prana. If we are low prana, if we are in low prana, we don't feel like doing anything. Not even we feel like eating or doing anything. The reason for this is just the low prana. And if we are in high prana, we are full of energy, enthusiasm, bubbling, jumping, doing whatever we can, and that is high prana. Everything seems good. Even if it is bad around, everything seems good only when there is a high prana. And the magic part is that if we can change our prana, if we are able to change the low prana to high, we can easily come to a happy state and see things in a different view. It is just very simple. And to increase the prana, to increase this nature, we just need a little bit of breathing, prana, a pranayam, and meditation. Right? And again, one more thing I will also say, that just breathing does a lot of things. I'm just telling you very few because we don't have so much of time, I believe. It's a large, big topic. Yes, when we talk about breath, when we breathe in, when we have a long, deep breath, it does wonders. And scientifically telling you, I will tell one more very important thing here, that is, which is very much nowadays in discussion. That is, if you have heard about it, that is the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is a very important nerve, which we were not taught in our school days, but now it is very much in research. People are working a lot on the vagus nerve because it is very important. How it is important and how it is helping us for healing is that vagus nerve is a cranial nerve. It is a science part I'm telling you now. It is the cranial nerve which comes out from the cranium, that is the skull, through just behind the ear, and it goes along through our whole body till the intestine, till the gut. And the best part of it is that as it goes down, it connects with all the vital organs in our body. Starting from the throat, it connects the heart, the lungs, the liver, the spleen, the stomach, all the organs that we have in our body, which is involuntary, which we cannot direct them to work. It is actually directed and taken care by the vagus nerve. And again, one more addition, the vagus nerve, as it moves down, it can take the impulses from the brain to carry back the impulses from the organs to the brain. So it works in both the direction. That is why it is very important, and that is why it does all the healing. Now, if we can maintain the vagus nerve healthy, it takes care of all the organs in our body. And how can we take care of the vagus nerve? How can we keep it healthy? It is very simple. We can keep it healthy by having good, deep breaths, that is pranayam, meditation, yoga, and of course, there is a special breathing technique, Sudarshan Kriya. All these things helps the vagus nerve to be healthy. Once it is healthy, it can take care of all the organs. So overall, scientifically, it can take care of the whole body. How? Just by breathing and meditating and doing yoga. In abroad, in many other countries, now they are curing disease by artificially stimulating the vagus nerve. There is a device which stimulates the vagus nerve artificially, and they cure many chronic diseases like epilepsy. Many diseases are cured from that. But we have the process, we have the techniques in our hand to naturally stimulate it. How do we naturally stimulate it? Just by pranayama and meditation. So we have everything in us. It is not even expensive. You don't have to pay. It is just a practice that we can do with ourselves, training our body, making it well equipped to face the world as it comes. Right? So, how much time we have? Would you like to just do a little bit of pranayam, learn a little bit of breathing?
Yes, I think that would be really helpful if people can, just see a little bit of, how they can exactly manifest this in their life and how they can practice maybe, 5-10 minutes also in their daily routine. If they can do something practically to, to help their situation, I think that will be very useful.
Very correct. Now, these are the simple pranayams, specially focused for people who are recovering, those who are in isolation, and those who are trying to prevent the disease, they can also do. So I will tell you some 5 simple pranayams to start with, and this will really help. Like we do first one deep yogic breath. We say yogic breathing, Now, if you can do it with me, it will be nice. So what we do is that you can keep your one hand on your chest and one hand on your tummy. And sit straight, spine straight, body relaxed. We will start breathing in. And as we start breathing in, we will try to fill the air in the chest, in the tummy, and see that the tummy is going in front, bulging out like a balloon, as much as you can bulge out. But fill the chest with the air. You can lift your clavicle little bit so that a little more of air can come in. You can also move your chin little up so that maximum amount of air comes into the thoracic cavity. And then we will be breathing out very slowly, breathing out from the chest, from this thoracic region, then the tummy, from the tummy, the tummy goes in, and try to bring your navel towards the spine so that whatever air left in the tummy will be coming out. Is the steps clear to all? Yeah. So can we do one or two practices now? So I will just show you, you can follow. So let's put hands on our chest and our tummy and sit straight. You may close your eyes and start breathing. Start breathing, taking in air. Let the air fill your tummy. The tummy comes out, bulges out. Let it fill the chest, the clavicle. And very slowly keep breathing out. Let it come out from the chest and the tummy. Let the navel go, push back towards the spine. And then again start filling in with the air. The tummy comes up, the chest comes up. And you breathe in. And then again, very slowly, you breathe out. Relax. This is the simple yogic breathing. Deep breathing, it gives you a lot of air and helps you in opening up the chest cavity, right? Next, we come to another very forceful, very effective instant energy. We call it, it's an instant energy, that is Bhastrika. If we do it in this way, that if you can sit, only the spine has to be erect. Now, loose fist in front of your chest, in front of your shoulders, elbows touching your body, loose fist, and again, shoulders relax. Now, in normal breath, what we do, when we say breathe in, you breathe in and your hands goes up, and as it goes up, the palms opens. As it goes up, the palms open. If I can show you, the palms open in the top. And as I say, breathe out. So you close your fist and pull it down. And let the elbows come and give a little jerk to your chest so that whatever air inside is expelled out. So this is a little bit forceful, but in normal breath, anyone having heart problem or high BP, please do it gently. That is recommended. Not to do as many. You can do 15 times. We will just do 3 times now for the practice. So let's close our fist and the elbows touching the body as we take a normal breath in and breathe out. Now breathe in, hand goes up, the palms opens, breathe out, coming down. In, out, in, out, in, out. So like this, you can do it for 15 rounds, 3 times, 3 rounds. Each round you do it 15 times. Only those who have high BP or heart cardiac problem, they will do it gently, and as many they can do it. They can do it even 10. This is the second pranayam. Now we will come to the third pranayam, which is very effective for those who are recovering from COVID. That is, we will take it in, and as we breathe out, we will purse our lips and blow out the air as if we are blowing through a straw, as if we are blowing. Even you can do it as if you're blowing a candle out. So breathe in, take a deep breath in, and breathe out as if you're blowing out the air through a straw. Again, take a deep breath in. Once again, take a deep breath in. Relax. This also you can do it minimum of 5 times. You can do it even 10 times, 5 times. So this is straw breath pranayam. And then we come to another important pranayam that we call as Bhramri. This is again very much researched. This Bhramri calms down our central nervous system, and it takes care of producing nitric oxide, which actually produces in the nasal cavity. And this nitric oxide goes down to the lungs, where it has ability to kill the virus. It is a vasodilator. It helps in circulation as well. So it is very effective, calming the central nervous system as well as giving the required things in the body. That is okay. So what we do is that we take our index finger and put on the small earlobe of the smaller earlobe that you have, put it over the small earlobe, and as we breathe in, we take a deep breath in, and after taking, we will close the ears with the small earlobe. Just press the earlobe, it will close. And as breathing out, we will be making a humming sound. This humming sound needs to be a little louder so that you feel the vibration in your mind, in your face, and in your body. So what we will do is that we will do a practice. So we will just do 3 rounds of this. Now we will put the index finger on the earlobes, take a deep breath in and close the ear, breathing out, making a humming sound. Once again, take a deep breath in. Once again, take a deep breath in. Relax. Now, last but not the least, the most important one is Nadi Shodhan Pranayam. This is a pranayam which actually cleans from within and makes us calmer and very stabilized in ourselves. Okay, this really helps whenever you have any tension, any anxiety, or little disturbance, frustration. Just sit down. This you must have seen that Panditjis do it before doing puja. So this, when it is done, it is cleaning of our system and calming us down and balancing. The left and the right part of the brain get balanced by this. As a result, there is more effectiveness in whatever action decision we take after this is more effective. So for doing this, we will just learn. I have to finish, I think, fast. So we will take the left hand and we will come to a chin mudra. This is a chin mudra or Gyan mudra, you can call it. Lightly touching the index finger and thumb and put it on your knee, over your knee, the palm facing the ceiling, and you can take your right hand, putting the thumb on your right nostril, little finger on your left nostril, and first two fingers, that is the index finger and the middle finger, it between your eyebrows. The area between your eyebrows, slightly touching it, not pressing the area. So in this position, what we do, we will breathe in from one nostril, close, breathe out from the other, and again breathe in from the other, close, and breathe out from the other nostril. This breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, we call it as alternate nostril breathing. So when we do this, breathing in, breathing out, and breathing in, breathing out makes one round. So we can do 5 to 9 rounds. You can do it on your own. Now that we don't have much time, I think I can just tell you. So you can sit straight where the spine needs to be straight, body needs to be relaxed, and the breath should be long, slow, and deep. You will be taking slow and deep breath in, and breathing out, it should be slow and deep. That is important. Hope you can do it on your own. And these are the few pranayams which will help you. And for yoga asanas to increase the chest cavity, you have certain asanas, especially those who are suffering and those who are recovering. Please go for some movements of hands, spreading out the chest, increasing the chest cavity, and you can go for that is Bhujangasana, Cobra pose. You can do the cat stretch. You can do Natarajasana, where there is the increasing of the chest cavity from the side part of your chest. So all these things you can do, and these asanas are very much available all around. Otherwise, you are always welcome to join the free classes that we are taking in Art of Living all around. Even you can join. I also take free classes in morning. You can join and learn the asanas and the pranayams there.
Thank you so much. Yes,
these are now.
Thank you. I think, these 5.
So these are few.
Yes. I mean, if we find 5, 7 minutes, 10 minutes somewhere in our routine and make it a practice. I'm saying this, but I'm guilty as charged. It's not easy, but now that we know what happens if we don't, if we use these tips and we make it a part of our routine any time of the day, I think that is going to be really very useful. And thank you. If you want to add something, please, most welcome. So I really want.
I'm just saying that yes, with this pranayama to start with, start with this pranayams and little bit of yoga, asanas, all these things. And after the pranayama, I would ask you to keep your eyes closed and sit down for a few minutes and just observe your own body. That's all. It will really take you all along. And other than this, while we are talking about immunity and all these things, to boost up the immunity now, we do have a lot of Ayurvedic medicines, which are Siddha medicines, which now even Medanta has opened up an Ayurvedic wing where they are giving this medicine. The Ayush ministry has recommended this medicine, which comes as an immunity kit, and this can be taken now, which has Tulsi Ark, which is the antiviral, which has Haldi tablets, which has Amrut, Gilohi, and which has Kabasur Pudinir, which is Siddha medicine to take care of the lungs and the viral infection. So there is a special immunity kit, which is even Ayush Ministry is being telling and proposing everyone to take. It is available everywhere, even in Amazon and outside. So you can buy, and to boost up that, you can take Ayurveda medicine with the pranayams and meditation as well. And you are always should be looking for doing meditations, because that is best and the top part, which will really make us very strong and stable. I myself is just recovered from COVID. And to tell you the truth, that even after the all through my COVID thing, I of course kept on doing my Sudarshan Kriya and other breathing practices, and it so smoothly. I was in, my chest was involved, my lungs was involved, lot of symptoms were that, but I did not face any complications, and it was a smooth journey, and I kept on doing. Sorry, I think I took a lot of time. Now, Sanjini, you can please continue. Yes.
Not at all. I mean, we are here to listen to you, and it was really golden nuggets for each one of us who have listened to it. And there's so many people on Facebook who are watching live, which we can see from the stats. And thank you so much. I feel that this was a very important thing to talk about and to share. Finally, a time has come in a very desperate and a very overwhelming way. But somewhere I feel that there's a consciousness shift that modern medicine and some of the body wisdom, the ancient way of just keeping calm and taking care of our mental health. COVID is as much a virus and a physiological attack on our system as it is in terms of the management and emotional and psychological management. Everybody is saying it's a psychological game. You have to who blinks first. In these times, what you said, what you shared, for people who are trying to prevent, for people who are trying to heal, and for people who are trying to deal with the panic, and I think it will be important for each one of them. Thank you so very much. I won't take too much time today. Now we are already at the close of 1 full hour. Just stay tuned. Next week and the next week, we have some very interesting ideas of carrying on these sessions. We will talk about 2-3 very important things. One is how to talk about loss. This is an idea we got when we were talking last week to Dr. Roma Kumar about psychology and emotional well-being, and something came up, how to talk to your children. But I feel how we talk to ourselves as well. How do we normalize conversations around death, around loss, around the possibility? And that is going to be a very hard-hitting but a very important thing to talk about. And Celia, who is a very dear friend and a healer, she would be in conversation with me. And the next session we will have Mariella, who is again a yogini, and she would share her nuggets of wisdom in terms of how we can carve creative expression into our body to be able to move, and within the confine of our lockdown, how we can imbibe some kind of positive habit for joy, for immunity, and for release. So stay tuned. I won't take any more time today, but keep your eyes on the page, and we will keep doing these sessions. And our only request out to you is, what happens, there are things in our control, there are things beyond our control, but your breath is in your control, and your breath can be one way, one equipment, or one instrument to deal with this a little better, in a little empowered way. So empower yourself with these practices Manibodhi shared, and I'm sure it will give us at least a little bit of enhancement in how we are trying to navigate this time. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Manibodhi, once more.